Hey guys, welcome to the webinar. We're going to be starting in about 5 minutes here, just letting some folks get in. We'll be starting at about quarter after. Hey guys, thank you all for joining. We're going to be getting started here in about a minute, just letting any lingering stragglers join in. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining today. It's great to have you with us. Just do some quick introductions and start this show off. My name is James Airy. I'm a lead consultant at Tallan with the data analytics practice. So I do a lot of work with Power BI. And over the last year or so, we've been doing some work with Power On in events, some projects, getting some sort of nifty little tools together to allow budgeting and forecasting, all the way up to some of the more complicated stuff like little mini workflows for approval, all within the Power BI service itself. So you're going to see some of that today. So without further ado, I think I'll hand it over to Mr. Mike Marotta. Mike, you have the floor.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you all for taking some time today. Very excited to be here with you all. Hope you guys are all safe and healthy, you and your families, given this current environment we find ourselves in, and for us in the United States here, getting ready for the Labor Day weekend. Have an exciting 45 minutes kind of planned for you here today. As some of you may have saw in the webinar notes, this is kind of what we have planned for a session overview. We'll spend a few minutes on who Power On is, talk about some of the things that we bring to the Power Platform that you may not think of when you think of Power BI and Power Platform, okay? So talk about our differentiators there. And then the really good stuff is going to be when we hop into the product today. We're going to show you just how easy it is to design a write-back-enabled report. We're also going to show you how you can configure and set up data entry and planning, how we can enable commentary to data points directly within a Power BI report. We're also going to showcase how you guys can turn Power BI into a true driver-based modeling solution, even incorporate machine learning and statistical forecasting. And then last but not least, get into the scenario control, version control, and as James alluded to, incorporate workflows and approvals. So many organizations, as you know, are stuck with Excel, SharePoint, other third-party products, and are really missing that approval and automated workflow. We have a very simple and easy way to bring that in directly into your reporting platform. And of course, everything you're going to see today also comes with its own audit log and permissions and security. We'll be sure to cover that. Towards the end of the meeting, we will also cover architecture, data flow, and talk to you about how the solution actually operates within any given environment. Throughout the meeting, if any of you have questions, please feel free to put them into the commentary or the chat window. And at the end of the meeting, we will leave about 10 minutes, 10 to 5 minutes, depending on what we have available, to cover all those questions as they arise. So real quick, just to introduce you guys, we are Power On. We are a Microsoft ISV partner. What that means is everything you're going to see today is trusted and actually published by Microsoft, the Microsoft Power BI product team. Today, we're going to focus in on our main flagship solution, which is called Visual Planner. It is a collection of custom visuals that you can now use to enable write-back, data entry, budgeting and forecasting, goal seeking, commentary, data management, all directly within Power BI. All right, we have a couple other products as well, but you can feel free to visit our website if you would be interested in those. Down the bottom right, you can see some of our clients that we work with. We work with the Fortune 500. We work with mid-sized organizations, and we work with very small organizations that are simply looking for a more systematic way to move away from the Excel hell that they've become accustomed to. Okay, so down the bottom, you can see here, we work in multiple variety of industries. We are completely industry agnostic. We are model agnostic, and we are size agnostic. So we don't care if you're working on a demand planning team, if you're in the finance function, or if you're someone that manages service contracts on the operations side of the house. If you have a need to collect data, get that back to a database, and report on that in Power BI in real time, we are going to be a really nice solution that may be of interest to your organization as you think about what is next in your Power BI journey. A few differentiators that I want to bring up to the room before we kind of dive into other items around Power On. There's a few technological differentiators, a few nuggets that I would like the room to leave today's meeting with, okay? Down the bottom left, you see flexibility, all right? Flexibility is paramount, especially to complex organizations. Not everybody just has a SQL database laying around. Many complex organizations also have needs to update data in non-Microsoft specific databases. And that's where Power On can play a role. So many of our organizations are still, they have pockets of usage of Oracle, of SAP HANA, Teradata. They may be in the Synapse now, Snowflake, IBM DB2, right? Amazon Redshift. You may have all these different structured databases that you're trying to make sense of. And with our visuals that we're going to showcase you today, we can actually write back to all of those databases out of the box. In addition to the entire Microsoft stack, which I'll kind of get to next, which is one of our biggest technological differentiators. We are the only company in the world that allows for real-time updates to SSAS tabular models, whether that be on-prem, in Azure, or even premium data sets. Okay, so being able to allow users to write back to a structured database, to reprocess their tabular model or their premium data set and see that effect on their report in less than 2-3 seconds, that is what our product brings to the table. In addition, many organizations are very sensitive around their data, right? And they may still be using Power BI Report Server, where you can quite literally disconnect from the internet and use Power BI. our visuals work with 100% functionality directly within Power BI Report Server. So some of the biggest report server users in the world use us across their entire enterprise for all different types of application, custom applications, and all different types of forecasting and planning and what if scenario functionality. From a long story short, everybody, what we're looking to do for many organizations is turn Power BI into a unified planning platform. So many of us know that we are relying on third-party planning systems like TM1, Hyperion, Anaplan, BPC. And then we have pockets of Excel usage, right? Where we're sending out templates to 100 different people. They fill out templates, they send them back to our BI, to our IT, and to our finance teams, who then need to consolidate, push into a database, and eventually it gets to Power BI for reporting. You know as well as I do that that data can be dead on arrival, especially in today's current environment, where when you walk out of the coffee shop, we have a new shutdown, or when you wake up in the morning, something's opened up. There's a lot of flexibility needed, and the actual need, the demand for real-time data, real-time updates, real-time commentary has never been higher, okay? And we allow you to bring that into your reporting platform of choice. So again, we bring that single platform feel, being able to remove third-party software, to remove your reliance on Excel and manual ETL and everything like that, and get everything into one single location, which becomes Power BI. Performance is unrivaled, as you know. We simply sit on top of the shoulders of a giant that is Microsoft, right? SQL, Tabular, Power BI, three of the most best performing and highly sought after solutions in the world, right? We are built on top of that. So all those performance upgrades that you may not experience in other softwares, or when you use Excel and SharePoint nonstop, we can kind of, bring that to your team. All right. Unified language. So many companies have calculations in Excel and third-party softwares, and all of a sudden you have net sales in 5 different locations, right? So with everything getting into that one stop, that single platform, you now have one business logic, one business language that can drive all reporting, planning, and any type of write back that you're looking to do. Visualizations that come with Power BI really vault your organization into the 21st century, okay? No longer are we looking at bland, basic Excel reports and tabular formatted reports. You can now incorporate all different types of visualizations to show historical trends, what projections may be from a machine learning algorithm, and kind of empower your users to make informed data entry decisions during the planning cycle. Last but not least, so many companies are looking for ways to incorporate R, Python, and statistical algorithms into how they do predictive analytics, into how they forecast today. With our product, you can do that at the click of a button, and I will showcase this functionality for you all today. Keep a high level before we open up the tool. I would like to make sure that no one pigeonholes us into a budgeting and forecasting product, or into just a sales forecasting, or into just application development. We are quite literally all of those things. So here I'm trying to show you just a couple different use cases. Obviously, finance and FP&A love what we do with strategic planning and forecasting and what if scenarios and custom roll-ups and hierarchies and all that great stuff that a finance team needs. But a large majority of our customers are actually in the sales and operations side of the house. Sales forecasting, CRM opportunity forecasting, capacity planning, building these custom applications around manual processes they have. We have a lot of companies that use us for demand planning and supply chain management, and other companies that want to do project management and scheduling and task assignments. So please keep an open mind when we walk through the presentation today. Last but not least, for anyone on the finance side of the house, we have a ton of success stories. What we have successfully, when I say we, I mean Microsoft, their technology with us as the front-end data collection layer has replaced third-party expensive products like Hyperion, TM1, and BPC. In this example, this is a publicly traded company out of Houston. We were able to replace Hyperion, HFM, and Essbase. They saved $1 million in expense and also took their corporate cycle from 3 months to 2.5 weeks. Now we will switch over to the product itself and get into the good stuff. So to begin the presentation today, I want to show you just how easy it is to turn a basic report into a write-back enabled report. So all of you have some familiarity with Power BI. And as you know, with Power BI, there comes standard visuals, a bar chart, a line chart, a gauge, And most of you are familiar with the matrix. Now, with the matrix visual, you know what this is. This is a pivot table, right? Directly in Power BI. You can connect to your data sets, your data model, a database of your choosing. You drag on what you want in your rows, columns, and values, and it creates a nice little read-only matrix over here. Now, many of our customers are asking, well, what if I want to change 24 million to 40 million and see that allocate down over all my locations or brands? What if I want to evenly spread 62 million over 4 quarters? And what if I want to leave a comment to an intersection of data within our model? This is stuff that is not available out of the box today within Power BI, but things that Power On's technology can bring to you, okay? Again, not a new product for you to learn, okay, from a front-end development perspective. All right, this is a custom visual. So as an example, the existing matrix that you see here today, you can now replace with the Power On data entry matrix. And just like that, we have built a write back enabled report. Now to show you what's actually going on behind the scenes, we are connecting this visual and this web browser to a web service in your own environment. No data leaves your environment for any reason. This is either going to be installed as an Azure web app or sit on an IIS server behind your firewall. This is the write back engine. This will then connect to a database or data model of your choosing. Again, this could be HANA, Oracle, SQL, or in this instance, an SSAS tabular model. And once you establish that connection string, it is 100% Power BI. So now you can see that when I publish this report to my service, okay, and you can develop in Power BI desktop, of course, you create your reports, you make your connections, you publish to the service, and now end users can come in and do data entry of any kind. In this example, we're showing them a brand and product breakdown, and we want them to enter data by month and by quarter. What if I also want them to update something by customer group? I can now drag this on, and just like that, you can see that our matrix or our new input screen has automatically updated. So again, if you know how to use a pivot table, if your Power BI developers know how to use a matrix, they are 85% of the way, 90% of the way trained on how to incorporate our write back enabled visuals into the work that you do every single day. So once you design these input screens, again, completely model agnostic. We don't care if you're looking at utilization percentages, hours, revenue, expense. That does not matter to us, okay? What matters to us is that we give you the ability now to update information and write things back. So let me switch to the full screen view here so you guys can get a better view. So now that we've published this report to the service, our contributors can now come in and view the report and make inputs. One thing I want to make that's perfectly clear to the room as possible is that we never override actual data. So please do not be concerned about, well, where are you writing back to? And please don't touch my actuals. We will never do that. Actuals stay actuals. So you can see up here, if I click actual, it turns Power BI back into the read-only product that you all know and love. What we allow users to do is to come in and override and update versions of data in a planning sense. So now that I've selected on a budget version that will live within the same data warehouse and database, but not be affected by actuals and be maintained only through our visuals, and I had permissions to do so, I can come in here now and begin doing write back. So as an example, I can go to the lowest level of granularity in my model. I can do a change at a subtotal level or even at the total level all the way down here. For demo purposes today, let me show you just how easy it is to override a Q1 total for a brand that's made up of 2 products. So instead of 10.6 million, I can now make this 20 million. Now that increase of 9.4 million units will now be allocated down across my months, my brand, and my products. We will go back to the lowest level of the SQL database, make updates at that lowest level, and then recalculate and reprocess everything in less than 2 seconds. So again, we made a proportionate break back and breakdown of our input across our products and our months and our transactions. And we also reprocessed all of our standard Power BI visuals in a couple seconds. So you saw all of our industries, our customers, our salespeople, our brands, our packaging, all took a brunt of that change instantaneously. So you can do these overrides anywhere. Again, throughout the matrix that you see, all based on where we are in the year, based on permissions and security and things like that. In addition to doing simple overrides, everyone, we also have things called smart formulas. So you know as well as I do, sometimes people just want to come in and do something very simplistic. So to do a smart formula, all you need to do is use the first 3 characters of said formula: increase, decrease, multiply, divide. Press save changes, and now we will only affect however dimensions we have. In Apple brand, it's only 2, but we will increase these by 10%. Okay, we can do even spreads. So I can come here as an example and say capital E, 3 million. Press save changes. And because I did that on a Q1 total, we will now see that evenly spread across our months. 1 million, 1 million, and 1 million. Many other organizations love our product because they have the ability to do something called a goal-seeking functionality, okay? So let's take a look here at July 2019. We have a total sales plan for 16.7 million. My manager just got off the phone with me and told me I need to increase this plan by 2 million. Doesn't care how I do it, get the number done. Well, the thing is, I don't want to allocate 2 million over all of my products. I mean, I only sold 315,000 of the cola kegs last year, while I sold 4.8 million of orange bottle. So what I'm going to do now is come in here and pick and choose where to allocate any change to. So I can come down here now and increase that 2 million, like my manager told me to do, but I'm only going to allocate this down to these employees, to these products, to these locations. Press save changes. Our product will go back and make the updates to these transactions only, and then reprocess any calculated columns, any DAX formulas, and any visuals that you see on your screen instantaneously. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways that you can interact with this first visual. We will show you 4 visuals here today. Additionally, we can also leave comments to an individual data point, and this is a huge selling point for many of our customers. I'm not going to lie to you. We have companies that buy us just for this functionality. Other companies are interested in forecasting and planning and custom applications, and they want to. And this is kind of an ancillary benefit. All right, wherever you fit on the radar of that, this is still interesting functionality. So, as you know, in Power BI today, you can leave comments on a visual or on a report, but you cannot leave comments to an individual data point, and that's where we come in. So now you can use a comment bar right here and leave a comment. Kroger order was delayed 3 weeks. To show you that this comment does not live in a cell, does not live in the report itself. I can drill down to a new intersection of data, and you guys will see I now have all new comments because now I'm looking at Chris Walker's book of business, not our entire corporate view. Okay, so again, saving comments to a data point, and wherever these data points re-show up on reports, these comments will persist and re-show up. And you can have comments that come from the bottom and roll all the way up, or you can have comments that live at individual levels. That is entirely up to you and easily configurable within the matrix visual. Additionally, our second visual is actually on the screen. So our second visual is a drag and drop visual. So instead of entering data or doing custom allocations and entry into a pivot table, we can actually come up here and create a drag and drop type of experience for your data entry users, for those people doing what if scenarios. And in this example, I'm going to reallocate my sales plan for the year to have this type of picket fence or a mountain range that I've created. So now you can see down here, everyone, that our numbers have changed. I have 34 million as a huge uptick in March, 34 million in June, and a last and final uptick of 38 million in September, all based on the drag and drop experience that I've created up here with our visual. Again, in this example, it's set to be 100% of our total sales target. So I can mimic this any way I want, and everything else will adjust to always make sure that we stay at that 259. We have other ways that you can use this. So this experience right here is a really nice way to kind of supercharge your current reporting, right? Is to not only just report the news, but now give them the ability to play around with some of the drivers on that report, right? To do driver-based modeling, to see the effect of KPIs and metrics before they go and make decisions. So with this example, I will move to another one that we've done here. And this is more driver-based modeling specific, but this is our actual third visual. So as an example here, you can see, now that we have the ability to collect all these versions and maintain them easily in the same database, you can now do that in Power BI. All right, so on the top half of the screen, this is 100% Power BI, nothing to do with Power On. Actual versus forecast, percent variance, financial variances, etc., all here on your screen. Where we come in from the driver-based modeling aspect is down the bottom here. And something that we've done for KPMG is they want the ability to select hours, billing rate, and utilization percentage. If you're in professional services, you know those are 3 key factors that drive profitability for a project, a customer, or even a business unit. So now being able to come down here and manipulate hours or billing rate or utilization, I can now come down here and see the effect on profitability. I can press Save Changes. Because I've selected Forecast 1, only my middle square here on my report will update to reflect that change. Okay, so it's a really nice way to kind of incorporate this in. It doesn't matter if you're adjusting price, if you're adjusting volumes, or cost of goods sold. You can see that that had a $3 million increase in profitability for this project, for this employee, for this business unit. Now, one thing that I'm sure most of you are thinking about is, well, I mean, I consider a budget or a forecast version to be like a production version, right? That's going on our CEO's desk for, variance reporting purposes. Do not worry, my friends. We will not have all different users coming in here willy-nilly playing around with numbers and seeing things change on your report. We will also empower users to create their own versions from scratch, or think of a sandbox or a scenario. We actually empower users to do that themselves. So now in this example, say I'm Mike Marotta, I want to create a new scenario. I can now come in and pick and choose what scenario I want, actual in this example, and I can call this Mike What If. Press Save Changes, and now I will create a new version of data within our database, a new version ID. I took a copy and pre-populated that template with actual data, and now I can come up here and find my version, and come in here and do all of my what if scenarios, do all of my assumptions and my changes before I even think about committing this, before I even push this for approval to my manager, before I switch back to my production version and make a change. I can see the effect of that in my own sandbox. You can delete these versions. You can share these versions with other colleagues. It's entirely configurable, but up to you of what you want that user experience to be for your team. Okay, but again, a great way to kind of incorporate some self-service experience here where they can create their own versions and have that on the fly themselves. As we move here, I want to kind of show you what the end result can be. We also have scenario controls. I mentioned that would be something that we kind of dictate. Many companies want the ability to see all of those versions in a database. Of course, you want to lock versions down. You want to open things up to certain Active Directory groupings. In this example, the customer wants to have initial, under review, and finalized. Initial means that all of our planners can come in and enter data. Okay. When it goes to under review, that means we lock out all of our contributors, and only finance or sales management in this example can come in and affect and change and ask questions on the data that was entered. And of course, when somebody wants to finalize that, we will then lock down that version of the database and make it read only. This is full-blown automated workflow and approval type of things. End users, all they need to do is change a status, and then we will lock down that version, make it read only, and do all that stuff at the database layer on behalf of that selection. This example as well shows a multifaceted type of planning approach where we have the ability to enter data at a business unit level, at a country level, or a product level. And we can also enter data via quantity or even adjust average sales price, all on the same screen. So without leaving this screen, you can move things around, give flexibility to your customers, but still have the internal customers, but have a systemized approach for how you do this. Okay. So again, updating quantity, you can have all different types of versioning and variants. You can see how you're moving through KPIs and metrics and even targets that have been assigned to you on the side of your report. So really nice functionality. And really cool piece about what we're doing here is we have that audit log that we talked about. So you can see here that we just have a little button. I can open this up and I see that Mike Marotta made a change on 8/26 at this intersection of data within our data model. And we have the old value and the new value that I entered. So full-blown audit log capabilities. You can search and say, this could be an interactive Power BI report. Show me all things that Susan did last week. Use a couple of Power BI filters and slicers. Bing, bang, boom. You guys have an automated audit log. Same thing goes with comments. You know, so many people just want to see comments. So show me all comments made by this business unit last week. You can now filter that and see all the comments made as well as, you know, where they were attached. Additionally, I want to just, before we switch over to more of the custom application side of the house, I want to show you just how easy it is to incorporate machine learning into what we do. So we have the ability here, and many of our companies, you know, like the HPs of the world and other organizations, they're actually providing a list of 8 different algorithms they want to provide the planners before they pre-populate a template and even go in and lift a finger for the first input. Okay, so you can do that in an automated sense. You can give them 8 different options, or you can even give them an option via something like this. Okay, so we can go Tallan ML, and now we can give them options here. Okay, and again, this right now is time series information, so please take it with a grain of salt. But this can be any type of statistical algorithm you want, R, Python, etc. You guys can put that, you guys will create that, put that into a SQL table, and now we recall that script, run it against historical data, and can pre-populate a version for you on the fly. So when you think about, instead of doing the old way of things of last year plus 3% and giving somebody a pre-populated budget template, now you can just use forecast. You can use R and machine learning to analyze historical trends and data, pre-populate a version for you. And just like that, now we have Tallan machine learning. We can see the output down here. And if I want to commit that and fill my template out with it, I can hit a commit checkbox, press save changes. And now when I switch over to my input screen, we will have a Tallan version that I can now update. Okay, so you can use this to pre-populate templates, to create versions, you know, whatever you want to be able to do and empower your users. You can now see my Tallan machine learning version is in my screen, and I can come in now and remove some outliers and make some overrides. Right? I have a great starting point based on machine learning output, but I still want to come in and make some changes. These are all things that you can do. 7 minutes left. We'll kind of run through some more of the custom application thing, and then I'll leave a nice chunk of 10-minute time to answer any questions that we may have. Here, we're going to show you our final visual. And this is the visual table editor. Our most popular product, I would say, our most popular visual. This is really the Swiss Army knife. This can be used for countless different applications. So I'll just really introduce you to the high-level concept and then show you some of the use cases that our customers are using it in. Again, as we look at the custom visuals, you guys are all familiar with the Power BI table, the most simplistic Power BI table visual there is. Connect to a database, drag on fields, they show up in columns. Congratulations, you're done. You just built a report. Now, the only problem is I can't come in and reclassify a product SKU to a new family grouping. I cannot change a date of a shipment or when an expense is going to hit. I cannot change quantity or price or inventory levels. You cannot do that today. With our product, you can. Every single field in this example now becomes a custom application. So now for column properties, you can dictate, do I want a field in my database to be editable or read only? If I want it to be editable, right, what type of interaction do I want my end user to make? Do I want them to choose something from a dropdown, like a status, or reclassify something? Do I want them to change a date and time and calendar picker? Leave a text comment? Have a checkbox like I've showcased you guys already? Search boxes to search an entire database, whatever that may be. Once you make selections, you can build a custom application in 15, 20 minutes. Other things will take much longer, but it's not an exaggeration to say that we've had customers get an application out the door in 30 minutes. Okay, for some simplistic right back to database tables that exist. So now you can come in here and reclassify data, change a date, leave a text comment with rich text. That's right. We can have bold, italics, underline, numerical values, etc. We can change quantities and even a price. And in this example, we're writing back directly to a SQL table. We write that back and everything refreshes, right? All of our standard visuals across the top that are looking at that SQL table can refresh. We can filter our table on any selections and filters that you want to use with Power BI. And come down here, and we even have like set all bars as well that you can turn on or off, but it gives people the ability to do wholesale changes to a database item if they would like. We can insert data. So think of update, insert, delete statements for any of your structured databases. You can use this visual out of the box to do. So we can do insert. We can do form entry. So think of people on a cell phone. They'd rather go top to bottom than left to right with their thumb. They can now come in here and do that form entry. Some of our Fortune 500 companies have asked for that. And they can even copy different types of data. Like, okay, this is like 90% of the way there. And we make an insert. We copy that data, and I can make a change. Other companies would like to use this for data management, custom mappings. You know, this could be a pain point for many organizations, especially when we're working in BI and reporting and things like that. In this example, we have a company that had unmapped sales products, like new products. The finance team needs to know where they belong from a roll-up perspective. The only problem is Miss Accountant has no clue what an 85-ton power swivel is. Somebody else knows that information. It's in their brain. And this person actually happens to be walking on an oil field. So they used to have to send emails, phone calls, etc. And now they built a little application that they can now assign to an individual employee. They unmapped products. They can come in here and show different groupings, segments, and assign that to a new segment or a new family and put that in for approval. If approved, we will now then take and manage and push that into our reporting instance. The next time we look at a drilling solutions visual, we know the 85-ton power swivel belongs there. Okay, so a lot of really cool things you can do from a custom mapping, even unmapped GL accounts, things like that. We also have one of the biggest companies in the world that use us for manual intervention. So think of outlier detection and manual intervention type of things. In this example, we're using POs that have gone beyond a certain date. Think of any validation logic that you may have with work that you do. Something goes on the naughty list, right? It's $1 million over budget, or it goes beyond a certain due date, or we have a task that was assigned to me for a project that is now 2 weeks late. That can go on its own little application like this, and now we can inquire the users, in this case, Kristen, to come in and describe via error code what went wrong. And if it's an unknown reason, that we can come in and we have to leave a comment. We'll check with legal. Press save changes, and now we write that back, update it, and provide a comment to our manager. We can send emails directly from Power BI. That can be done with Power Automate and then the Flow product, or even using something like SQL Mail that hooks up a database to an Exchange server. You can have images like that completely baked into the product to see purchase orders and other things like that as well. Last 2 minutes, everyone, before we open up for questions. We also have workflow dashboards. So we talked about that a little bit. All the things you just saw, you can incorporate a level of workflow and approvals anywhere you want. So now people can come in and do their data inputs. And before we even push that into a production database or report, we can have a reapproval process. So now I can see somebody has not started something. I click on my report. I can reassign this to somebody else. Press save changes. And now Jane just received an alert letting her know she's responsible for revenue forecast 1, effective immediately. Jane comes in and can put something in for review. Press save changes. And now Jane's manager, Jane's direct report, whoever that may be, comes in and can say, okay, Jane put something in for my review. I can reject that with a comment. Hey, Jane, go back to May, increase by 5%. Or I can approve that. And that's where the database trigger and the workflow will come into place. If X equals approved, take said entries and move that into another database and do an override statement. All of that is handled in the back end. The end user, the front end users are none the wiser. They're coming in and using a very simple application to update workflow and approval and tasks. And then we take care of the heavy lifting in the back end. We also have companies that want to use us for different types of project management. So you have table editor visual, and things like that. So you can come down here and update a status for a task that's been assigned to you and then see that update up here in real time. Okay, so you can see that that's now 85% complete. Last but not least, I just wanted to cover 1 or 2 more things before we get to questions. I did mention that we would cover security and workflow and approval. So with this example, we have the ability to come in and actually manage row-level security. So any row-level security or Power BI permissions will pass through to our visuals out of the box. If you want to give your end users the ability to maintain something in addition to that, like read-write access, you can do that directly here in our module. So you can see this individual now, and this could be Active Directory groupings or even global parameters. But I can come in and say, I'm going to read these 4. I can view these 4, but I can only write back to 3. And we update the database and the row level security, and that will pass through to the user experience immediately. And then last thing I want to show here real quick is just the architecture overview, and then we'll get to questions, okay? So real quick, for planning and forecasting and the matrix and the drag and drop stuff, we have a certain type of architecture requirement. You have all of your sources of record down here. Most companies have that in a SQL database or warehouse, whatever you want to call it nowadays, and they have premium data sets or tabular models that exist. We then push that into Power BI and use our visuals or our add-in for write back. This web service, as mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, lives in Azure or lives it behind your firewall. This is the write back engine. This will then go back, read the tabular or data set, update what needs to be updated in SQL, and reprocess Power BI in 2 seconds. From there, Mike, the Power On job is done, and then you can push that data back into source of record via Logic app or integration package of your own if you would like. Now for the table editor visual, this is almost its own little standalone product. If you have a very simple use case, this could be up and running in the matter of minutes. So instead of having a semantic layer like a data set or a tabular model, the table editor can write back directly to any database that you have, like HANA, SQL, Oracle, whatever that may be. So you just connect it up, and then that can write back to it. So with that being said, maybe we can hop into some questions. I know I just went through a lot there in a short amount of time. So James, if you'd like to maybe take it from here and take some of the questions that were asked.
Yep, thanks, Mike. So we do have a couple of questions in here. I'm just gonna go through. I think what you just mentioned does go over a few of them. So there was a question specifically about financial data residing in Teradata or SAP HANA. So the question was, does the customer need to buy different connectors for those data sources? And I think you answered that. It's basically, the answer is no.
That is correct. The answer is no. These are pre-built connections that we've already tested and have in use at customers. So they are considered out-of-the-box functionality.
Yep. All right. Another question that came in, can the ML forecast be automated so you don't need to approve adding changes to the model?
Of course. Yep. You can have any level of automation. We have many customers that have full-blown automation there where they don't even pick it and choose based on the type of data that is in the model itself. It will do its own assessment and then run the machine learning algorithm itself automatically.
All right. There's another sort of interesting question. This goes back to editing the machine learning. I'm sorry, not the machine learning, but the matrix. So someone initially asked, how is it allocated across those cells? So when you update Q1, how does it get allocated? I think it's worth diving into that.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So out of the box, meaning no functionality, no formulaic languages, out of the box, it will take whatever starting version we have and use that as the diagram for how we allocate. So it takes in the seasonality as an example. If we copy last year's actuals into a version, all of those different seasonality and numbers that live there, it breaks back proportionate to the starting value. Okay. So whether that comes from machine learning, comes from actuals, whatever that may be, that is how it works out of the box day one. Now, of course, when you're talking about financial planning and analysis, there are lots of different, more complex allocations. So we have our own little rules engine module that actually allow you to build stored procedures that can, cleanse data before it even comes in, or even create very simplistic DAX formulas without having to be a DAX guru, that you can come in and create your business logic and allocation logic that can then be leveraged by the visual itself.
Right. And so sort of a related question on top of that. So if you were to update the Q1 value as the total, and let's say you're in the middle of Q1, would you be able to proportionally allocate the change to Q1 to only the future dates or only the past dates?
If that is part of the logic that we have created, yes. Out of the box with no additional logic being created in DAX or with the rules engine itself, the answer would be no. So you just need to kind of build that in, that if we are in mid-month, this is the allocation logic we will follow, and then the tool will be able to do that for you.
Right.
So that takes a little bit of upfront work to understand all those different scenarios and make sure that the rules are in place.
Right. All right. Did have another question in here just about what the pricing model for this solution was?
Yep. So pricing model, we typically won't go into today. You can feel free to reach out to anyone from Tallan or myself, but I can go through the licensing module itself and what the licensing is. So the way it works, everybody, just so you understand, only developers and contributors require licenses from Power On. Okay. So, and again, let me just pull the screen up for you guys. But what we have here is an annual subscription. You pay for licenses for the year, and then you can renew them next year if you'd like. You have named licenses. So if you have 50 people that need to enter data, you buy 50 licenses. They all have 24/7 access, 365. We also have concurrent licenses, 50 contributors, and you have 10 licenses that you purchase. All 50 people have write back enabled experience and can see their own data, but only 10 people can be writing back at one time. So really nice for a way to keep costs very low, but open it up to a wide variety of users. And then something that makes us really unique is seasonal licenses. We will not require you to buy for licenses for the year if your users only come in once a quarter to do an update or at the end of the year to do their budgeting. Okay, so seasonal licenses as well. And then if you get into the thousands of users, we have flat fee enterprise licenses that are different for each individual company. Again, if you are interested in any type of ballpark estimate, please feel free to reach out to me and or any Tallan employee, and we will be able to get that information back to you. And just so you know, my information is on the screen right now. So email, phone, and again, a Tallan employee will be following up with everybody a part of this webinar to see if there are any follow-on questions.
Yep. I think we have a couple of other questions. Someone asked if we could share more details on how the Python or R code could be leveraged.
Yes, more details. It's really a matter of for a company to determine what they want to use in that sense, or to engage with Tallan and Power On a requirement session and a planning session, right? Because we have our own machine learning and data science folks that can help you put together your plan for how you want to incorporate it. We are the technology piece that can incorporate it into your reporting or give end users the ability to click two buttons and run something, where Tallan and even you and your own internal customers will dictate what scripts we want to use and what make the most sense for your organization. So long story short, you determine what scripts we want to make available, and then we ask, we want it to be automatically populated. We want to give them options to choose from, and we'll kind of go from there. Okay, but long story short, it's very simplistic. Once we do it, we make those available in a SQL database or a model, and then we can recall that via the table editor that I've shown you and run that information for you to pre-populate versions.
Yep. All right, so I think we're about at time. I know there are a few other questions that are still out there. To anyone that didn't get their question answered, don't worry. We will be reaching back out to you, and we'll get those get all those questions answered for you. And of course, you can ask us if you have any questions, or again, Mike, you can email him at the contact information on the screen.
Yep. Thank you so much, everybody. Again, looking forward to hearing from some of you, and thanks for spending some time with us today. I hope you guys found it informative. And if we don't talk to you this week, enjoy your Labor Day weekend, and best of luck throughout the rest of the year.